Sabrina from the Gombe family, and today I thought I would give you a video about my personal education journey and experience, since we just did a video on the education process or different journeys that we've went through in Kenya with my daughters. So maybe this will give you a more in-depth or better understanding of my background and why I think education is so important, but in a unique way. So let's start with my dad. My dad got a late start in education in regards to college, university. So he did a couple odd jobs for a while after high school, and that was all manual labor. So he soon realized, like, I can't do this for the rest of my life, because it was hurting his body day in and day out. So this was he started university a little bit before he started dating my mom, and so he was working and going to school so that he could get the money to pay for school. And it was really important for him to get an education because he knew that his body couldn't last much longer in a manual labor job. So he knew that he was very good with numbers, and he decided to be an accountant. Unfortunately, that's not something he ever wanted to be. My dad is 71 now. So this was very different generation, right? And he just wanted to provide for a family. There was one linear path back then. It wasn't, oh, I don't want to get married, or oh, I don't want to have kids, or different things like that. It was, okay, you graduated high school, now go get a job or go to college. Okay, find someone to marry. Okay, now have a career or a serious job. Okay, now have children. That was the linear path that everyone back in those days kind of went on. So my dad, being good at math, was like, oh, I can be an accountant. I'll be good at that because I'm good at math, and that's just going to be my life, right? So he went to Stanislaus State in Turlock and pursued his degree. And that was really difficult for him, having to work and go to school and study all at the same time. And then this is right around the time he got more serious with my mom. So toward the end of his degree, my mom was assisting with paying for the degree so that would take a little bit more burden off of my dad. But he was very serious about his degree, as you can tell from everything that he piled on his plate, you know. He wanted to make sure he got that degree because to him that was the ticket to being successful. That was the ticket to feeding his family and providing them a good, stable house and all of those things, you know. So that's what he did. And after that, he had a connection to get his first job as an accountant, which back then was only $1,000 a month. And so he did that job for a while, and then this was when I was a baby. And so we lived in a few apartments until we bought our home that my mom still lives in when I was about 9 months old. So my dad was able to impress people quickly with his skills of being an accountant, but he never enjoyed this job. He enjoyed certain companies better than others because he constantly changed jobs. And I definitely get this from my dad. He would work for a company for 2 to 5 years, and many companies, instantaneously, when he started working for that company, he would be looking for a better job. He would deal with headhunters, which are people that look for jobs for you, and he would constantly be looking for the pay increase, the benefits increase, being that he has a family, right? And so about every 3 to 5 years, he would have a new job. So I kind of saw him do that, and it kind of instilled in me that you can always do better. You can always do better. You can always do better, you know? So I saw this in my dad, and my dad just having conversations with me about how important education is and how it's got him to where he is, and he's taking care of his family. But I saw how he was never really happy in his jobs, you know? Like, he would come home and he would be like talking to my mom, who didn't really care so much about what he was talking about in regards to his job. He would be like, oh, this person's an idiot, and oh, this person needs to do this, and this person's bad at their job, right? So I never saw him happy about work. Then, fast forward a lot, recently my dad retired in 2020, and to just hear him talk about his career kind of like made me really sad, because he did this career for over 40 years. And he did that so that he could provide for us, his family. But it never gave him a sense of fulfillment. So now that he talks about his past career, he's like, I wish I would have become a park ranger, you know? Which is, of course, a polar opposite of being an accountant. Being an accountant is suit and tie. You know, when my dad first retired, he started growing out his beard. And I was like, Dad, you look good like that. Why haven't you done that before? And he was like, oh, like being in the office environment, like I feel like I needed to be clean shaven. And that made me sad for him too, you know? Like he felt like his whole life he had to put on this professional businessman persona when that wasn't really him. He wants to be scruffy grizzly man. He wants to be a park ranger, you know? Like he loves the outdoors. Like he would come home and his like sanctuary would be the backyard. Like he would garden. We had every fruit you could possibly imagine in the backyard. So that's a little synopsis of my dad and kind of like where I came from in regards to my motivation. So my story is looking at my dad and seeing how important having a degree was. I pursued that as well. So I went into the military as I was working on classes for my bachelor's degree. And while I was in the military, in the Air Force, I got my associate's degree through the Community College of the Air Force. And then right after I got out of the military, when I had Safari, is when I completed my bachelor's degree. And then literally less than a week after that, I started my master's degree program. And initially I started that in person, but I ended up completing it online. And my bachelor's degree and my first master's degree are both in criminal justice. And yes, you heard that right, first master's degree. So after I got that master's degree, I wanted to diversify my resume, right? So I was like, what should I do next? And I wasn't really ready for a doctorate. So I was like, let me do a master's degree in management. And especially since I still had my GI Bill, so I was using that a lot during this time as well. So I got a master's degree in management. Okay, so I took a little time off after that. And so then I started pursuing a doctorate in teaching English as a second language, education teaching English as a second language. So at this point, we were living in Florida, and my goal was for us to move abroad and for me to teach English. I knew that teaching English was the way to go at that time because I could get a job anywhere in the world on any given day. Right? If my resume was right, I could go to any country with Safari, because at this time it was just me and Safari, and I could get a job tutoring, I could get a job at a school, and I could be making money for my family. So then I started working on the doctorate in education, and I started that with Capella University, and the first 2 classes were awesome and I got great grades, and then I got a horrible professor for the 3rd class, and it kind of just completely turned me off of getting a doctorate. And I was like, do I want to wait these 2 years that it takes to get a doctorate before we go abroad? No, not really. So I decided that I was going to get a 3rd master's degree in education teaching English as a second language. So that's what I did, and I completed that relatively quickly. It was less than a year that I completed that because I would do 6 classes at a time. And so the year in Florida was very stressful. I did my master's degree for education the same time I did my TEFL, teaching English as a second language certificate. And then I also got a TESOL, TEFL is teaching English as a foreign language. TESOL is teaching English as a second language. I got both of those certificates so that my resume would be like, oh, okay, she's really serious about this. She has a master's degree in it. She has 2 certificates in it. She's taught in the classroom before, because I used to be a substitute teacher in New Mexico. So I was building these things on my resume to be like, look at me, you want me, because I'm overqualified. And because of that, it kind of like overcompensated for me, I guess, not being comfortable in the career field. I don't know, me feeling like I was kind of like faking it till I made it, right? And so no matter what my skills actually were in the classroom, I knew, which I don't think I was a bad teacher, but I knew that I would be hired anywhere, no matter what, because they would look at this resume, which is what people are shying away from now, but people still look at resumes and use that to identify if somebody is a great candidate for any job, you know? So they look at my resume and they're like, wow, we want her, we need her. Why is she applying for our school? She has so much on her resume. So that's what happened, and I got that degree and then those certificates, and we moved to China, and I got a job super easy there, and I have had no problem finding a job since then. So what I wanted to discuss with you guys is that I kind of like took my dad's motivation for having a degree and how important that was to him, and how he thought that that was the key that he needed in order to be successful in his career, which at that time in society, he was right. You know, nobody would have took him seriously or hired him if he didn't have a bachelor's degree. Nowadays, in his same position, nobody will take you seriously unless you have a master's degree, at least. So things are changing, and I think that I would never suggest to my daughters that they do the same thing that I did at all. I think that it was a lot of waste of time. Yes, I think it was good for me, and I don't regret really anything that I did, but I want to teach my daughters that they need to show what they're capable of with their skills, and not with a piece of paper that says, I spent this much time and this much money getting a piece of paper that says education on it, or getting a piece of paper that says management on it. I want them to learn throughout life, which is why I'm kind of like signing up for this unschooling concept, because I want them to learn what they want to learn, you know? I want them to learn French if they want to learn French. I want them to focus on history if they love history, or dance if they want to be a professional dancer. I want them to focus on what they want to focus on. Is it hard for me sometimes? Definitely. Yes. But I think that it's going to be so much more rewarding for them, because if they want to start a business, they're talking about starting a YouTube channel. They want to do that within the next month. So they're practicing making videos together and stuff. And it's just so amazing to see. Would they be able to do that if they were going to school Monday through Friday? No, probably not. They would be tired from school. They would just want to hang out with their friends on the weekends. They wouldn't have that time to be creative, you know? So let's talk about best case scenario. They start a YouTube channel and they start monetizing rather quickly, and they're 8 and 9 years old already making money from a business they've created, you know? So I want them to be able to show what they're capable of through their actions, and not the pieces of paper that they have listed on their resume. And that's kind of what I wanted to show through this video, that generation after generation, things are changing, you know? So my dad just got a bachelor's, and he was very successful with that through experience after experience after experience, with that bachelor's as his education, and then his experience kind of building on itself. He was able to be very successful. I was able to get many degrees, kind of take my dad's path and go to the extreme, and now I know if we're in any country, as a family of 4 now, if we're in any country and we don't have money, I can find someone to tutor that day, whether it's online or in person, and make money to feed my family. So I don't ever have to worry about, oh, we don't have any money to eat tonight. Never, never. But I don't want that path for my daughters. I want them to build skills on making a business online. I want them to build skills on YouTube or blogging or any of those skills that they can take into this next generation that are going to be more prominent and more useful than a degree, right? Because I feel like in many different career fields, degrees are kind of going to the wayside, and technical schools or just general training is a lot more respected because they want you to do things a certain way. And college is just very broad. Why am I taking a math class in college when my major is management, or my major is teaching English? You know, like, that's just an example, but it's just so general when you get a degree and you take classes that are not even part of that degree, you know, as opposed to a training college or educating yourself, you know, like YouTube University, how people say. So I've done enough rambling, but I just wanted to get on here and show you guys that every generation in our family, at least, has done it differently. But from my experience and my education, I want my children to do things differently. If they want to go to college, I fully support them getting scholarships. If they want to go into the military, yes, I support that. If they want to start a YouTube channel and be successful with that and save 50% of their income, I fully support that as well. You know, if they want to go be professional dancers, I fully support that, as long as you have some type of side gig and you diversify your income to make sure you can take care of yourself. You know, I support anything they do as long as they have motivation and they are passionate about it. So I hope this gives a little more insight into our previous video where I did the interview with Safari and Georgina on the schooling process that they've went through in Kenya thus far. And I think that unschooling is the best option for us, especially here in Kenya. So please leave your comments about your opinions on unschooling or schooling in general, and your experience with schooling and how that's positively or negatively affected you. I would love to hear everybody's different experiences so that I could share them with Safari and Georgina, and they can have other people to look at as what to do or what not to do in their future. So thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in our next video. Bye!